What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you about case 31 of the Blue Cliff Records. Mayoku comes to Shokei. So let's start off with Engo's introduction. The piece I want to show you guys is this. If you truly penetrate in your practice and become master of it, then you will experience not a trace of obstruction. You will be like a dragon supported by deep waters, or like a tiger commanding its mountain retreat. Then, if you let go, even tiles and pebbles will become illuminating. And if you hold fast, even pure gold loses its luster. The first part is just reiterating the fact that when you attain Satori or enlightenment, the mind no longer experiences obstruction of any kind, which is what we usually feel when we're practicing spirituality. It feels like there's a constant struggle between what our soul wants, evolution towards the divine, and what our body and mind are experiencing. But once you gain the goal, those obstructions disappear, in the sense that the mind or self becomes unobstructed, free in all circumstances. This is what we call Jishu Zamai, or self-mastery. To visualize what that's like, we have the analogy of having the power of a dragon or tiger in its ideal environment, where it is 100% the ruler. That's what self-realization gives you. It makes you feel like you are the ruler of your universe, exalted and confident, because you are totally unafraid forevermore. You are forever at rest. Next, in this passage, we get the fascinating recurring Zen theme of letting go and holding fast. So Engo says, when you let go, even tiles and pebbles become illuminating. They come to life. The meaning is related to the quote I shared last time in case 23, where the translator Katsuki Sekida says, in your experience of realization, you see Myoho-cho everywhere. The divine sacred mountain is symbolic of the absolute Myoho-cho. You see the Buddha land, even in a blade of grass. The idea is that once you attain enlightenment, you see the self everywhere as everything. So nothing is mundane anymore after that. Such ideas are just worldly perception about relative value, the belief that this is important and this is not. In this self-realized state, you see everything's true value as your own shining self, valuable like gold. Ironically, the next line says that if you hold fast to the non-duality, which is what holding fast means, then things of a high relative worth in terms of worldly perception become dull, meaning from that frame of wisdom, dispassion and the end of craving and delusion arise. So even things like gold are no longer appealing, because you know that label or perception is simply a concept the mind overlays on top of it. The true value of the gold now is not in the concept, but in the universal self that it is. So in light of that, the other term letting go refers to letting go of the non-dual perspective, ceasing to hold fast, and instead entertaining the perspective of relativity that other people still believe are 100% true. Okay, so I had a lot to say about the intro, but here is the main koan case. Mayoku came to Shokei, carrying his bell staff with him, walked around Shokei's seat 3 times, shook his staff, ringing the bells, stuck it in the ground, and stood up straight. Shokei said, "Good." Secho, who is the old commentator who compiled the Blue Cliff Records, the ancient rather, not old, says, "A mistake." Mayoku then came to Nansen, walked around Nansen's seat, shook his staff, ringing the bells, stuck it in the ground, and stood up straight. Nansen said, "Wrong." Secho says, "A mistake." Mayoku said, "Shokei said good. Why do you say wrong?" Nansen said, "Shokei is good, but you are wrong. You are blown about by the wind. That will lead to destruction." Okay, first of all, Mayoku, Shokei, and Nansen, these are all disciples of Baso, who famously enlightened Hyakujo by pinching his nose while they were talking about flying ducks. Mayoku here has likely just attained an initial Satori experience, after which it is customary to visit your master and let them know about your attainment. Not directly by saying like, "Hey, I'm enlightened," but through your new behavior. Mayoku is doing that here before the two masters, Shokei and Nansen. And the behavior he's demonstrating is not following the custom of sitting down after you walk around the master 3 times. Instead, he remains standing defiantly, which serves as his declaration of awakening. The first master approves of him, at least in all appearances, saying, "Good, I recognize your realization, I can tell, good job." Sekida informs us that this is an instance of letting go, acknowledging the relative achievement. The second master, Nansen, instead focuses on the fact that Mayoku still needs to cultivate the path to holy Buddhahood, which is why he says wrong, meaning if you think you're at the final goal, you aren't yet. And this perspective is an example of holding fast to the ultimate. Part of the reason the reader knows this is accurate is because Mayoku performs the same action again in front of the second master, which in itself is suggestive of clinging to an idea rather than just acting naturally out of Zen spirit. That doesn't have to be the case per se, but the story indicates to us that he's just showing off rather than just being, which is what he would do from a place of full enlightenment. Now, the reason Shokei said good is because he is good, meaning he is a master dwelling in nirvana and is not attached to the words he speaks. They are a natural byproduct of his Zen spirit rather than ideas that he clings to. If he wants to acknowledge the relative, then he's fully aware he's doing so and is not delusional about it. So the statement good was never meant to convey that Mayoku's attainment was perfect. One of my favorite lines here is the end, where he says, "You are blown about by the wind. That will lead to destruction." This is emphasizing the incomplete attainment. The seeker still has an element of identity within him, as outlined by the 10 Sangyojana. And so long as there is identity remaining, death awaits that identity, meaning it can be influenced by conditions, which is the part about being blown about by the wind. And that identity can meet its end when the factors it clings to fall away, which is the part about destruction. So the lesson for the studying monk is to not let there be anything within you subject to destruction. Eliminate all sense of conditioned self, which is a landing point for rebirth and dukkha. Now let's get to some of the interesting things Secho says in his verse. First, we have his comments about the mistakes. Secho says, "This mistake, that mistake, never take them away," revealing that when he said a mistake in both cases, he was simply emphasizing the fact that in Zen, every statement can be considered faulty and can be corrected by an opposing point of view in a Dharma battle. We know this because he says a mistake even after Nansen correctly tells Mayoku he is deficient. Next in Secho's verse he says, "In the 4 seas the waves subside, 100 rivers flow quietly to the sea." And this is referring to the fact that yes, Mayoku has indeed attained a kensho. The waves of the personality self, the conditioned personality self, have subsided, and the rivers of karma now flow to the sea of the absolute instead of remaining within samsara. Okay, and the last verse of interest is this. "The 12 bells of the staff tinkled up high. Empty and silent is the road to the gate." The gate is the threshold to enlightenment. And to get there, you not only need to still the mind through meditation, but the mind must also be emptied of the sense of personal self. You eliminate the ego self through your Zazen meditation in order to progress towards awakening. And as a useful side note, Sekida tells us that the 12 bells represent the 12 stages of causation, which is referring to the Buddha's teaching on dependent origination, paticca samuppada. Alright guys, so that's it for case 31 of the Blue Cliff Records. Mayoku comes to Shokei. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe. I plan on talking about what the Blue Cliff Records actually are in my next Zen video, so hit the notification bell for that. Check out my t-shirt store below and join my new YouTube Instagram account, claremont.paul, for more updates on new content. Peace out.